In this WrestleTalk news, an update on Kenny Omega's AEW contract, are there going to be more intergender matches in WWE, and Luke's review of Raw.
Support WrestleTalk!
Over the course of the last few months, we've seen the AEW return of Kenny Omega, followed by the suspension of Kenny Omega and the AEW re-return of Kenny Omega. It's been a wild few months. Omega originally returned after taking an extended period of time off to recover from all the injuries following Full Gear 2021. Just so many injuries. After being suspended following Brawlout and returning again at Full Gear 2022, questions are now being brought up about his AEW contract, as it had previously been reported that his contract was originally set to expire in January 2023. Dave Meltzer confirmed on Wrestling Observer Radio that it was either January 30th or February 1st when the contract actually expires. And wouldn't you know it, the Best of 7 series that the Elite are currently doing against Death Triangle concludes on January 11th at the latest, meaning that could still be the case. However, a listener to the show would mention that AEW is advertising Omega for the Winnipeg show in March, which, if you're good with dates, you might notice is in fact after January and February. Crazy how that works. Meltzer would say in response, as far as I know, he hasn't signed a new contract, and I would think if he had, they would have sent out a release like they did for Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley. But because he had all that time off with injury, I think that they froze it and will extend it. Which, if true, means Omega hasn't re-signed just yet. Do you really think he could leave AEW? Honestly, it would probably be the most shocking thing to happen in the wrestling industry until maybe a week later when something else nuts happens, because wrestling never stops. On last night's Raw, which Luke will be reviewing here shortly, Rhea Ripley had an intergender match with Akira Tozawa, which is yet another little dose of intergender altercations that WWE likes to pepper in once every couple of years, like Nia Jax in the Men's Royal Rumble, or Baron Corbin hitting End of Days onto Becky Lynch. But there's one person who seems quite excited about the possibility of more intergender matches opening up in WWE, and that's Xavier Woods. Woods, at one point in time, had a storyline with Retribution where he faced each of the members back-to-back for 4 weeks running, losing to T-Bar and Mace, but winning over Slapjack and Mustafa Ali. I know, I have absolutely no recollection of that happening either. Regardless, one member of the group he never got to face was Reckoning, now Mia Yim, but now that possibility has opened back up with Woods tweeting, "Hold on, wait, so do I finally get to finish out the series against Retribution? Do I finally get to face Reckoning?" This would be a great payoff for all the fans of the Retribution story, and I'm glad all 2 of you get the fan service you deserve. It's coming to the end of the year when people start looking back at the past year for the bests and worsts. Check out WrestleTalk's Wrestler of the Year 2022 on the WrestleTalk podcast YouTube channel. But there's one more milestone to hit for Intercontinental Champion Gunther before the year is out. If Gunther makes it to December 30th as the IC champ, he will become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in a decade, surpassing Shinsuke Nakamura's reign of 201 days. The record after that to beat would be Cody Rhodes' 2011 reign, which lasted 236 days, which seems entirely feasible for the big lad. It wouldn't even be all that surprising to me if he surpasses Honky Tonk's man reign of 454 days, the longest reign of all time. Though he most likely is losing to Braun Strowman, isn't he? Now hot tag to Luke.
Thank you for your support on Patreon, Nathan, the Street Racing Prophet Ford, and the Mayor of Painesville, Dan. Get your own Patreon shoutouts over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. And now it's time for my review of Monday Night Raw, aka bloody hell, they really did save the best Raw of the year until the end of the year, didn't they, edition of Monday Night Raw? In about 5 minutes. The show opened with WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion Paul Heyman introducing Roman Reigns to set up our show-long storyline, The Bloodline attacking Raw to send a message to Kevin Owens for daring to step up to them and bringing back John Cena. It gave Roman this mafia boss vibe, and it actually made him feel like he was on the show despite never appearing in the arena. The aura of Roman was all over Raw, which made the angles feel even stronger. We saw the Bloodline kill Mustafa Ali backstage, and later on, they attacked Dolph Ziggler, Cedric Alexander, Elias, and even NXT's Andre Chase, who we were told was at Raw because he was wrestling on Main Event. This angle even made the audience take note of Main Event. It was a brilliant bit of storytelling that, granted, didn't exactly hype up Raw all that much and was just there to promote SmackDown, but made the show feel important. I don't know if this is a reactionary move to the record low ratings that Raw got last week, but this was a stacked episode of Raw that rarely let up. We always used to joke here that Vince was at his mad best when his back was against the wall. Perhaps we're seeing that Triple H is at his chaotic best when he's in the same position. And that's not a negative, by the way, because this made for great television, which we got all over this episode of Raw, kicking off with the Street Profits beating Judgment Day when Akira Tozawa caused the distraction by throwing water into the already injured eyes of Dominic Mysterio. I mean, commentary told us that it wasn't water, but it's quite clearly water. I don't think Akira Tozawa was drinking gin neat. The action was also very good, with Damian Priest looking awesome, Montez Ford looking jacked, Angelo Dawkins having my favorite hot tag in WWE, and Finn Balor grunting up a storm as though he was trying to get himself into Adam Bigelow's Grunt Hall of Fame. But the real shock came after the match, when Rhea Ripley challenged Akira Tozawa to a match which was accepted and made official. We got an intergender match on Monday Night Raw. Sadly, because of some of WWE's rules, Tozawa couldn't really do a lot of offensive moves to Ripley, but that really wasn't the point. Ripley dominated and beat Tozawa in a match that was such a spectacle and superb way to continue this slow build of Ripley to be the woman who will likely dethrone Bianca Belair. I loved all of this. We got a tease of MVP reuniting with Bobby Lashley in a backstage segment, or maybe I'm just projecting that onto the segment, they didn't really allude to that, and then the Good Brothers beat Alpha Academy in a short match. But, much like the opener, this was about the post-match, as the Bloodline attacked the OC and left them laying, with Sami Zayn brawling with AJ Styles after a promo to set up a match later on tonight. Watching the OC beat Alpha Academy for a second week in a row, AJ beat Gable last week, I was a bit worried that the group were directionless and in need of a big storyline following their loss to Judgment Day. But it would appear that we're going to get an OC versus Bloodline feud down the line, maybe for the new year or maybe even next summer following WrestleMania. At the very least, we're going to get more action between the two teams on Raw, which I am all for. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair had a sit-down interview with Byron Saxton and his excellent socks, which saw Bliss basically rewrite her character motivation for 2022 to try and make it all make sense, and said that Belair didn't need to be worried about Bray Wyatt, she should be worried about Alexa Bliss. And after a flash of Bray's symbol on the screen behind her, Alexa Bliss attacked Bianca Belair and left her laying. Maybe we should stop putting up screens around Alexa Bliss. Their title match will be in 2 weeks' time, as next week's episode of Raw is a best-of episode. Wow, this really has been an excellent episode of Raw thus far. I can't think of anything that would dampen my mood. God damn it. In fairness, this was a totally fine ladder match with some decent comedy spots. I don't think the Iowa crowd were really into the storyline though, as when babyface Dexter Lumis was in peril, the crowd were chanting for the heel Miz to use a table, which only made the lack of reaction to the main roster debut and WWE return of Bronson Reed feel all the more palpable. It's cool to see Reed back, who attacked Dexter to help Miz get the win, but he also just feels like a step in for Tommaso Ciampa while he's out injured. It also means, I think, that this storyline must continue. Long-term booking, LOL. AJ Styles and Sami Zayn had a very good match, which Zayn won when Solo Sikoa interfered and hit the Samoan spike on Styles to allow Sami to win with the Blue Thunder Bomb of all moves. Seth Rollins came out for a promo to promote his United States Championship match in 2 weeks' time, and Austin Theory came out to respond, saying that Rollins is just the third most successful member of the Shield. Ooh. Rollins fired back with a really fiery babyface promo, yelling at Theory that the man makes the title and challenged him to have their match right now. And it looked like it was about to go down when the Usos appeared through the crowd. And given what has happened all show, this ramped the tension up by several dozen notches. We then got an awesome sight as two big stars of Raw and bitter rivals put aside their differences to stand against the invading force, until Theory bailed and left Rollins to get beaten down. This was so awesome, made even more awesome by Kevin Owens coming out to make the save to set up a tag match for the main event. This was so great. And the show didn't let up from there, as Becky Lynch and Bayley had their first singles match together in 4 years, and it did not disappoint. Becky cut this promo before the match, and it was shot like no other promo, which made it feel all the more impactful, and the two showed why they are two of the best in this company. Damage Control made their presence known, which caused enough of a distraction distraction to allow Bayley to hit the rose plant on Becky after a monitor shot to get the win. A really good match that sets up future bouts between the two. And then we got that main event of the Usos taking on Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. My only complaint is that this only went 10 minutes when I could have easily watched another 10. Isn't it weird that it felt like we didn't have enough time on a 3-hour show? Really shows how stacked this episode of Raw was. And like Vin Diesel, this action was fast and furious and turned into one giant schmoz finish that was very reminiscent of Attitude Era Raw. Solo Sikoa came out to interfere but ended up brawling with the Good Brothers. Seth took out Jey Uso with a stomp on the outside but was then laid out by Austin Theory with a title shot, and Kevin Owens pinned Jimmy Uso with the pop-up powerbomb. And then after the match had an intense stare down with Sami Zayn, who slid into the ring but backed off before any punches were thrown. I cannot wait for that tag match on SmackDown. What an episode of Raw. I know some of you watch these reviews without watching the show, but this is one of those weeks where I am telling you that you should find the time to watch this episode of Raw. Even with my minor quibbles about the ladder match, this episode did not let up. Again, I don't know if this was just a reactionary move to the record low ratings last week, but if it was, I hope we get more record low ratings. This week's episode of Raw was 5 out of 5.
In this WrestleTalk news, a huge match featuring more than one return for the Royal Rumble has been leaked, Cody Rhodes has been getting physical, an update on Goldberg in WWE, and more.